Welcome everyone to Best Practices to Navigating Data and Application Integration for the Enterprise. I am joined today by a lovely panel of guest speakers, including our partners here from Seamless and also Sienna. So Sienna, I'll pass it off to you to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Sienna Emery. I'm a customer support specialist here at Safe Software, and I'm so excited to introduce our partners. So these guys represent Seamless, and they've been doing some really great work with enterprise integration. So I'm so excited for them to share their projects, and I'll pass it off to you, Sam.
Yeah, thanks, Sienna. Yeah, we're really thrilled to be here. Hi, everyone. My name's Sam, and since 2017, we've been partners with Safe Software. We're a team of system experts who provide integration expertise for utilities and local governments powered by the EFME platform. And alongside me today, I have Chris Duncan, who's our Chief Operations Officer.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris. So I lead the delivery team at Seamless. So we provide a range of services centered around the FME platform. These include like projects where we are engaged as like a systems integrator, where we build the solutions on the FME platform. We provide hosted and managed services where we provide enterprise integration as a service, all the way through to just technical advisory support and training to help your team get the best at the FME platform. We work a lot with New Zealand utilities and local government and some central government as well, where we not only provide the FME platform, but bring ready to deploy connectors and automations to support their common workflows.
Fantastic, thank you. Before we dive into things, just if you are newer to the Livestorm platform, if you have any audio issues throughout, click that help button on the bottom left, and there's 4 simple steps there to take. We will have a poll coming up very shortly, so keep an eye on that polls tab on the bottom right. And questions. If you have any questions throughout the webinar at all for our presenters, please do drop those into the questions tab. We do have some folks who will be leading a Q&A discussion at the end of our webinar today. And lastly, keep letting us know where you're tuning in from in the chat. We love to see that. All right, and I'll hand it over to Sienna for our agenda today.
Okay, so first we're going to be talking about challenges technology leaders face. This often comes in the form of silos. So we'll touch on that before diving into enterprise integration, which is the solution to those challenges. So we'll talk about what it is and how does it help an organization. After that, we'll dive into some real world case studies. So we're lucky enough to be joined today here by Seamless, and they've done some great work with some organizations. So they'll talk about what they did for enterprise integration and how it helped those organizations. After that, we'll dive into what they learned from helping these organizations, so their best practices and their lessons learned. Then we'll briefly touch about FME, what it is, how it could potentially help you, before going into resources and our next steps.
Awesome. And at this point, I'll get our presenters to go ahead and turn off their webcams just to save on some bandwidth for the remainder here.
Awesome. The brilliant Zhamak Dehghani created the concept of data mesh in mid-2019 to address some challenges around democratizing data at scale. Our goal as technology leaders is to create and implement a strategy that will deliver a digital capability that enables your organization to achieve its vision. Whether you're an electric utility whose vision is a thriving community powered by a safe and reliable network, or a municipality who's looking to be a city of opportunity where the community can live, work, and play. Ultimately, your organization's digital capability is designed to have the right data available to the right people at the right time, using tools that they trust so that they can do their job to the best of their ability.
The biggest challenge we see facing companies is organizational silos. Now, this might be technology-based or people-based, but the impact is really the same. These silos impact decision-making abilities, lead to wasted effort, and overall inefficiencies and delays. A common silo we see today is caused by legacy technology. Many organizations have aging infrastructure and systems. Business units are often comfortable with how these apps work, but then are resistant to change. Legacy technology is often backed by custom integrations, including SQL and batch files. Small changes to the database behind the technology can lead to a massive impact, which requires expert knowledge to keep this data up to date. Therefore, this data stays inaccessible to other organizations and is often siloed off from other business users.
Another major technology silo is caused by shadow technology. Users increasingly expect tools they use to be as easy and intuitive to use, like home banking and social media apps that they used to. It's often said that change is the only constant, but we commonly see technology teams being resistant to taking their users through a change process. This is generally driven by a perception that business units are resistant to changing their legacy technologies. However, we also find that there are often just as many users that are unhappy with the status quo and are not prepared to wait for an enterprise technology platform to catch up. Nowadays, it's affordable more than ever for business units to use their own budgets to procure low-cost SaaS solutions. This is often championed by individuals or teams that are driven to just get the job done without considering the wider impact on the digital capability and organizational-wide data management. So again, data is siloed because these shadow technology solutions don't connect to core enterprise systems, and those core enterprise systems are missing the data captured in these shadow systems.
Yeah. So in New Zealand, these challenges are often compounded by resource constraints. I mean, obviously, there are always budget constraints. However, we are faced with a major shortage of technology resources, especially in the rural parts of the country. Councils and utilities there find it immensely difficult to attract and retain talent. And in many cases, the people who have developed legacy systems have left or pose a major risk to the business if they do. Plus, a technology strategy is almost always going to include a move to the cloud and as a service models, which can have serious trade-offs depending on product maturity and how much a product has been customized. So what we end up with here is people leaving, taking that knowledge with them, and different ways that you're going to have to integrate in the future to achieve the same outcome. So it's challenging.
Awesome. So now we have a moment for a poll here, and I'll go ahead and launch that for us. So we'd love to know what is the biggest challenge your organization faces in integrating data and applications? So quite a few different options there. And you can pick more than one if multiple of those do stand out to you. And I remember Sam and Chris, you had mentioned that you had ran this poll at a specific New Zealand event and had some key trends come out of it.
Key trends in the sense that pretty much everybody was facing all these challenges. That's very much in a New Zealand context. I don't know if the personnel and sort of resource constraints from a staffing perspective will be consistent globally, but we do expect to see similar challenges across the board.
Yeah, I remember legacy systems and compatibility was definitely one that came up a lot, which FME positions itself really well to deal with. So
yeah, from my perspective, the resourcing tends to be a constraint no matter where you are. We often find users are just expected to do so much more with less. So definitely, I think it's a global issue, really.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it looks to be like these challenges are faced across the board here as well with the group today. So thank you everyone for voting. That's really good insight for us.
Okay, so let's talk about enterprise integration. What is it? The best definition I could find was enterprise integration is the process of coordinating an organization's various systems, applications, and data to work together seamlessly. It often includes data integration, application integration, system integration, and business process integration. The goal is to improve efficiency, data quality, business agility by ensuring all components are interconnected and communicate effectively. However, if I'm going to put that in very simple terms, it's basically ensuring your data is in the application it needs to be, is able to be accessed by your team, and is up to date and trusted. Or as Dagani put it, it's the right data available to the right people at the right time.
In our experience, enterprise integration has key characteristics that are quite different from the traditional ETL and data synchronization patterns. Our customers are typically asset managing organizations, so our focus tends to be on operational information rather than reporting or analytics, but this still plays a role. This means that the cross-organization workflows that we're managing involve things like work orders, stock and inventory management, roster to pay, and outage management. So rather than ETL processes that synchronize large data sets in bulk on a nightly basis, these workflows need real-time information and are triggered by system events. So we're dealing with small data objects that are processed immediately. When data changes in one system, it needs to be broadcast across many different systems simultaneously. As these are operational workflows, they are usually business critical. We need data processes that are designed to recover from failure, as event-based information is really difficult to rerun when things go wrong. While enterprise integration does connect directly with databases, it's more common that it interacts with out-of-the-box APIs and webhooks that come with modern enterprise systems. And I guess as an example of this, I'm going to pass over to Chris now, who's going to share a story about one of our customers, Nelmac.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. So Nelmac is owned by Nelson City Council, which is a small council in the northern part of the South Island of New Zealand. Nelson provides sort of contract asset management services to both Nelson City Council and a couple of other councils in that area. Their focus is on three waters, park and recreation, green spaces, and environmental management in that province. So Seamless has provided enterprise integration as a managed service powered on the FME platform for the last 6 years. Throughout our partnership, we've helped them to mature their digital systems following their cloud-first strategy. This was all fast-tracked in 2022 when Nelmac did a wholesale replacement of their finance system. They migrated from a legacy on-prem system called Nimbus to Microsoft Business Central. From the early initiation phase of the finance system change, enterprise integration was at the heart of the project, leveraging their investment in FME to automate the flow of data as much as possible across the organization. This meant that during the procurement process of the finance system, the only products evaluated were those that had productionized and supported APIs and webhook capabilities. It also meant that Business Central wasn't implemented in isolation. All of Nelmac's software vendors were engaged to ensure that the end-to-end system worked and delivered the promised outcomes. So getting into a little bit more of the detail of how some of the platforms that are involved in Nelmac. So this slide illustrates how FME is core to Nelmac's enterprise landscape. In fact, the FME platform not only integrates Nelmac's enterprise systems, but it connects to external customer systems as well. All of the Nelmac enterprise systems are SaaS, including FME, which we provide through the Flow hosted platform. There are many workflows that have been automated using this architecture, but the most important manages service requests. For example, say a Nelson resident contacts the council to tell them about some new graffiti on a public washroom. Council will create a service request in their Infor asset management system. FME picks up this new service request and verifies it against a SharePoint list to determine which contract manager should be applied to the job. From there, FME will create a new work order in Microsoft Business Central, which creates a purchase order. Through a webhook, Business Central then notifies FME that the purchase order has been created and triggers FME to create the new job in Solar Workspace. Solar is Nelmac's HRS system, where staff track timesheets and manage stock and inventory. At the same time the job is created in Solar, a job is also created in ArcGIS, enabling field staff to capture information about the job and take photos of the work completed. If this was another type of job, like water pipe repairs, it would go to VWork rather than ArcGIS. Once the job is completed by the field crew, an ArcGIS webhook notifies FME that the job has been closed. FME then closes the job in Infor, the Nelson City Council asset management system. At the end of the week, a supervisor will approve their team's timesheets, triggering a webhook from Solar to FME. FME collects the timesheet records and updates the general ledger against the purchase order so that the customer can be invoiced at the end of the month.
Thanks, Chris. So far we've defined enterprise integration and discussed some of its characteristics. We've also shared how Nelmac uses enterprise integration to connect their systems and automate their workflows. However, I want to take a moment and pull back. Why is this valuable to technology leaders? If our mission is the right data available to the right people at the right time, how does enterprise integration make this happen? Well, first, we need information that can be trusted. So organizations will only trust information if they believe it's quality. To use a personal example, if I'm going to catch a bus and go somewhere I need to be at that place on time, I'm going to look at the schedule. Now, let's say I know from past history that bus might not show up at the exact time I want it to. I'm going to leave a wide margin of error, so I make sure that I catch that bus. So whether that be I catch the bus or I arrive at the bus stop 10 minutes early or 10 minutes later, or perhaps I just scrap the whole thing. I don't even rely on the bus anymore. I'll just take my car. Well, this can personally cost me time and money because I don't rely on the data I've been given. I'm just one person, it's not that big of a deal. But when you expand this to an organization, you can imagine on how this impacts the organization overall if they don't have data they can trust. And this statistic from Gartner really reflects that. So organizations on average face $15 million a year in annual losses due to inaccuracies and inefficiencies in their data. That's not just a number. It's a call for a shift towards prioritizing data integrity. So we want to minimize human errors by capturing data as close as possible to the source, whether that's an inspection of an asset, a conversation with a resident, or a status update from a sensor. Okay, so let's talk about why it's important for our users to get really into collecting and using data. They need to feel at ease and confident with the apps we give them. If they're not, they'll just ditch them and switch to something simple like a spreadsheet or another tool that does the job. Think about it. Our users want the apps they use at work to be as simple as the apps they use at home. Some companies thought they could fix it with a one platform system, like a big ERP. But let's face it, in a world where people love specific single purpose apps, these just aren't cutting it. Our users rely on these apps to do their job well. These apps have to be rock solid and reliable. No one's going to trust an app that crashes or acts weird out of the blue, and if they don't trust it, they'll use something else. But here's the thing, reliable also means secure and in line with the company's rules. We can't have folks moving info into spreadsheets and then emailing them around, or using apps that are outside of the secure zone. That's a big risk. Yet we also see companies stuck with outdated systems because their users don't want change, or because updating them could cause a lot of disruption. Finally, we need efficient and productive technology teams who serve the users and are proactive when things go wrong. By investing in robust data management system or practices, we can transform this potential loss into an opportunity for growth. The path forward is clear. Enhancing our data is not just an IT imperative, but is a business necessity.
Yeah, so how does enterprise integration help us achieve these aspirations? Well, enterprise integration makes information trustable. It minimizes human error and improves data quality. It means that information can be captured once at source and automated across all business systems, just like we saw at Nelmac. In fact, data automation can perform additional data quality checks and identify new issues that aren't immediately picked up during data entry. It frees organizations to adopt systems that make users comfortable and confident. Traditional product selection has been driven in part by data compatibility in an effort to avoid silos. However, enterprise integration has solved this problem, so organizations are able to select best of breed technologies in collaboration with those who are going to be using them day to day. We can provide more reliable user experiences by simplifying our enterprise architecture. Enterprise integration enables us to loosely couple applications, creating a separation of concerns. We can deploy applications following best practices for scalability and resilience without being constrained by shared databases or network interactions. This simplified enterprise architecture makes it easier to monitor and maintain our security posture. The best of breed applications are more likely to be used rather than worked around, which is a great start. But we can also deploy application following vendor security best practices. We can connect data using secure APIs and web services rather than peer-to-peer VPN connections or poking holes through firewalls. It's an enterprise-wide view of security still critical, but it's much simpler to administer. Loose coupling applications through enterprise integration also eliminates the need for point-to-point and database integration scripts. Technology teams can change and upgrade systems confidently, knowing that the flow-on effects will be limited. So technology teams are able to do much more with less. In fact, in New Zealand, we are seeing local government and electric utilities adopt both SaaS and vendor-hosted solutions because of the service levels they offer. Enterprise integration is the key to unlocking these value-added services. So we want to take a moment to share some of the success stories from New Zealand that demonstrate how enterprise integration has delivered value to the business and helped them achieve their technology objectives.
Thanks, Sam. So Waipa Networks are an electrical utility in the central North Island of New Zealand. In early 2023, Waipa Networks engaged us to deliver enterprise integration for their digital transformation program. In the previous year, they had delivered an ambitious project to move their network diagrams from CAD drawings through to the Esri Utility Network Management Extension, or the UNME. Integration became a high priority as they looked to migrate their legacy ERP systems, called NCS, to the next generation of the product, called Magic Cloud. One of the first processes to go live integrates customer connections between the ERP billing platform and GIS. Similar to Nelmac, Waipa Network uses FME Flow Hosted, which routinely checks the Magic ERP API for new information about debtors. FME picks up the new and updated debtors and creates a new record in the billing platform, which is ARC, not ArcGIS. The customer services team uses ARC to plan and organize connection requests so that it is kept in sync with the national registry and can later be invoiced through the Magic ERP. When a new connection, called an ICP, is created, FME picks up the new connection, including customer and network information, and creates a new record in the ArcGIS utility network. In the coming week, we're expecting to go live with a process that integrates Waipa's SCADA system, leveraging FME Flow's WebSocket capabilities to manage outage notifications to residents. Similar to Nelmac, these integrations have been deployed to decouple each of the platforms from one another. Through the FME platform, we use a publisher and subscriber pattern in combination with cloud-native AWS services to manage failures. In the local government space, Mackenzie District Council is a small municipality in the central South Island. Similar to both Nelmac and Waipa Networks, Mackenzie have a cloud-first strategy. And due to their small size and reasonably remote location, they prefer to partner with cloud vendors and managed service providers like Seamless. They found it more cost-effective and future-proofed than trying to attract and retain staff and manage their own infrastructure and systems on-premise. Moving to a cloud as a service model has only been possible through the enterprise integration platform powered by FME. Information needs to flow between core corporate systems, including Laserfish, where they manage all their documents, Magic Cloud, which is the ERP and finance system, Univarious Assets, which also known as Asset Finder, where they do all their asset management for their 3 waters assets, ArcGIS, where they do a lot of their visualization and mapping work, Isovist ePlan, where they share their planning information with the public, and soon the Squiz Citizen Portal. However, as a municipality, they also need to share information with external organisations such as the Canterbury Regional Council and Land Information New Zealand and Quotable Value, who did the valuation for properties in New Zealand. Like many councils, a core function of Mackenzie is to administer property records and consents. To do this, we have automated processes. FME pulls authoritative land parcel, boundary and property information from Land Information New Zealand's data service platform. FME then connects to the council's property rating system managed in their ERP, Magic. At the same time, FME also integrates property files stored in Laserfish before writing the dataset into ArcGIS. This process generates a unified view of the council's property information, which can be easily searched using a map, address, or property identifier. Mackenzie will be taking a step further when they deploy their new citizen portal on a platform called Squiz. Initially, the portal will enable residents to report issues to council, and in time they will be able to administer other council services such as dog permits, payment of property rates, and liquor licensing. Similar to Nelmac, issues reported to council through Squiz will become service requests and then work orders. FME will broker the information between the core council systems so that the customer services team can efficiently allocate jobs to field staff across the district. Better still, residents will be able to track how the job is progressing in real time.
Cool. So enterprise integration transforms what is possible for technology teams. And we want to spend the rest of our time together exploring best practices and lessons learned from our time working with these organizations and many others. We're going to start by looking at people and processes, and then we'll explore more technical concepts and how these can be created in platforms like FME. So we advocate for an approach that gives business units greater autonomy over their own technology. This aligns with emerging paradigms like data mesh, which has a principle called domain-driven ownership. The idea is that data is owned by those who use it most because they understand it best. This is a shift from a technology team-centric view, which is common among many enterprises. Historically, technology teams have taken responsibility for both data and technology, which is a big job. One reason for this was because technology teams had the skills for managing databases and data warehouses. The problem is that while they might be experts in those systems, they aren't subject matter experts in the domain. For example, an electric network engineer is going to have far deeper understanding of network assets than a database administrator. The network engineer ultimately has a more educated opinion on the apps and data they need to do their job well. So we recommend letting business units take control of their own digital transformation. However, for this to work, we need to agree on clear boundaries. This isn't a lolly scramble. Governance needs to be centralized and collaborative with stakeholders from the business units, which means there needs to be clearly defined roles and responsibilities. If business units are in control of their own digital transformation, they need to be good data citizens. Business units need to capture trustable information. We believe business units need to assign a product owner who is willing and able to correct information and communicate effectively with stakeholders.
We put a lot of emphasis in data being captured digitally at source. If our mission is the right data available to the right people at the right time, then users must have confidence that it's correct. Yet so many of our clients start from a position of zero trust in their internal information. We need to build a culture where data is treated as a product and the users in the business are treated as customers. If a business unit are in control of their digital transformation, then they need to be collecting quality data and making it available to the business units. This means selecting technology that have secure, productionized APIs and webhooks that the integration platform can connect to the business. It also means building a mindset where collecting quality data is part of doing the job rather than a byproduct of doing the job. For example, when Nelmax first launched a field mobility solution, field workers really captured information about the jobs they completed. Lawns were being mowed and playgrounds were being repaired, but the dashboards looked like nothing had been done for months. In their view, the job was to mow the lawn or fix the swing. They didn't understand that collecting data was a critical part of demonstrating to the customer that the work was completed. They didn't know that contract managers were hoping to make their lives easier by optimizing how they worked, and they didn't have a full picture of how this tied to Nelmac's ability to invoice and get paid. Nelmac resolved this by finding a product owner from the Parks and Recreation team. Kate had worked in a range of roles, both on the tools and in leadership. She understood the value of collecting good information and was able to bring the other crews on that journey. As a technology leader, and maybe you need to influence how data collection is treated in the recruitment process. If data collection is important to your organization, then it needs to be a part of the job description. It needs to be a key performance indicator that can be measured and managed.
So let's dive into some of the more technical best practices of using the FME platform. The first topic we're going to introduce is this idea of decoupling systems. Now, this has been mentioned by Chris and Sam earlier in the presentation, but basically what we're trying to do here is reduce the risk of widespread failures across the system and allow one application to be updated or changed without disrupting the entire network. Next, we're going to plan to build for failure. Now, this might sound counterintuitive because systems should just run flawlessly, but anyone who's ever worked with applications or anything else really knows you have to plan for failure. So this means creating robust systems that are able to withstand problems and are agile enough to recover quickly. Finally, we're going to talk about balancing cost and complexity. Data integration or enterprise integration should be the solution to your problem and not be a problem on its own. You really need to think as you're choosing your platform and your solution, how will this act in the future? Can I change things out quickly, or will the cost or the complexity of that system be too cumbersome?
So yeah, like Sienna said, we've talked a lot about decoupling applications. But to understand decoupling applications, we need to spend some time exploring the alternatives and how these have developed over the last 20 to 25 years. Tight coupling is a common trait of traditional enterprises where making data accessible across apps was a challenge. These are examples of how organizations have attempted integrating data in the past, increasing in modernity from left to right. So on the left, we've got a relational database system, and we've got a bunch of apps hanging off it. There's a lot of good reasons why you would do this. It was certainly much better than 25 years ago having a bunch of text files stored on disk that needed to be loaded in, or every desktop in the organization having a copy of the data. But what's not good is that within the database, there is very little abstraction from the tables. If you need to change the table because of one of the applications need changing, then it can break others. So there's a tight coupling. Then we move to the next phase where you had this point-to-point database integration. And this is one we still see really commonly. Take asset management and the GIS system. You want to store the location data, but that's in the GIS database. But all the attributes are managed in the asset management system. So we're going to need to create database views stretching across two databases, or have a large and complicated T-SQL script buried away in the database that nobody really understands to copy records from one database to another. I mean, in all fairness, I'm sure people really understood that back when they first wrote them, but a lot of these haven't been maintained and managed because it's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So again, there are really valid reasons to do this, but it's still tight coupling. You can't make a change to one of the databases without it having an unknown impact on the other database systems. So whether they're connected by a SQL view or there are batch scripts pushing data around, the effect is the same. You have things fragmented all over the place. There's no central way to understand if I make a change, what is the flow-on effect going to be? So then we move to the right, and this is a modern paradigm that can still be done quite badly. In this case, we've actually got APIs sitting between the database and the client, but there are a couple of ways that those APIs can be consumed and shared across. Like 10 years ago, there was this idea of the mashup, where you could mash up data in an application, pulling from lots of different APIs, and the web client could process both of them. Now, again, there are some great cases for that. However, this often leads to the same problem where a change in one system can inadvertently have an impact on another, and this is what we're trying to avoid. It's not resilient, and unexpected changes in our apps frustrate users. So for one or two isolated cases, this might not be a big deal, but across an enterprise, this effect really begins to compound so that you have an inability to be agile, to have applications that move and grow with the business as the business changes, causing cost and lost productivity. When a system's changed, the change is a large and disruptive event, often causing a ripple effect of additional change that wasn't planned for or necessary. There's challenges finding resources to continually maintain scripts or even know where they are. And the cost to continually maintain point-to-point scripts does escalate. Then you start to get to a cloud migration, and the SaaS and PaaS products typically limit access to the underlying database tiers. So even database integration is no longer possible. So the solution is to loosely couple best-of-breed applications. So we're thinking about how data being shared as a product through an API or a webhook via an integration platform to other data products. By loose coupling, changes can be made to an individual data product with minimal impact on the ecosystem. So on the publisher side, between this slide and the last, the orange boxes represent an encapsulated unit of compute, data, and service. We've got this modern architecture where those things stick together, and we refer to those as a microservice, where the app or the API and the database is a self-contained unit. It itself could be your asset management system, or it could be on infrastructure you control with a SQL database and API service level and an application client as a product that you've purchased, but those components belong together. Or it could be a SaaS system, which is why the diagram on the left has a dashed line, because in most cases, you're consuming this information as a service. You'll no longer have access to the underlying database. So that point-to-point database integration is no longer going to even be possible. And then on the far right, think of those subscriber boxes as your business system applications. One could be your finance, one could be your GIS, your field management system. But the idea is that they all come with their own service tier and their own system of record. Increasingly, we're seeing products off the shelf being bought like this. For example, in the GIS space, ArcGIS Enterprise comes out of the box with hosted feature services and data store, which is only accessible through APIs, mimicking the experience of working with their SaaS platform, ArcGIS Online. But looking in the middle at the integration platform, let's talk about how these are decoupled. In this case, green lines represent an API or a webhook sharing information into an integration platform. Kind of like a Twitter hashtag broadcasting to a topic saying, hey, I've made some change, but not really knowing or caring who downstream does something with that information. Then listening to that topic is a range of listeners. Like we discussed before, they are consuming that change and implementing it for themselves. The benefit is that if you need to, you can make a change to the publisher and it will have zero impact on what happens downstream. If you are looking to replace your asset management system, you could add another subscriber that was feeding changes into this new system in parallel. So you could be making changes and testing, knowing those things aren't going to clash or collide with each other. So everything's decoupled in a way that's robust and resilient to change.
So let's take this and apply this methodology to FME. An example we see frequently is users wanting to pass on survey data from Survey 123 and pass it automatically to their other applications. This passing of data is achieved through webhooks. The webhook is like a specialized URL that can pass data directly to a topic, or in this case of FME, a webhook trigger within the FME flow automations. The FME flow webhook trigger accepts this data from the webhook and can pass it on to an action. In this case, the FME server topic. It could also pass it to a workspace that applies some logic to decide which potentially many topics should be publicized. This can then use FME Flow's internal notifications capability, but more and more we're using FME Flow automations with the automation writer acting as the topic. This is what allows us to decouple the systems, sending the messages from those that are listening to them. We then configure a separate FME Flow automation, which is triggered by listening for messages sent to the FME server topic. And we can configure as many of these topics and listeners as we want. In this case, our action will run what we call a workspace. However, there are dozens of other actions that we could take across popular cloud and messaging platforms. Workspaces are published as a web service, and they can transform the shape of the data and send it to over 800 different formats and systems, creating endless possibilities of reading and writing data. For our example, a single record updated through the Server 123 webhook can be broadcast to CityWorks, SharePoint, and Snowflake independently. We can make a change to CityWorks without impacting the data that is loaded into SharePoint. We could then even make changes to Server 123 without breaking any of the other downstream systems, as they are completely decoupled.
Okay, so let's talk about the idea of building for failure. Some things I wanted to touch on here is the error handling capability that's built right into FME. So the first thing I wanted to touch on is this terminator transformer. So as you're building a workflow in FME, you can actually have that workflow terminate if certain conditions are met. Using the terminator transformer isn't something that we really talk about a lot, but when I was talking to Sam and Chris at our last user conference, they brought up that they actually encourage their employees to use the terminator. Their idea was, you want to make sure that you're terminating your transformation before it reaches its output, because you don't want to be sending data that shouldn't be there into these other systems. So as soon as you detect a change, you can use the terminator to essentially shut down that workspace. And then from there, if you're building an automation in FME Flow, you'll see the workspace action actually has this failure output port. Now what this can do, you can direct your automation to have different actions based on whether your workspace succeeds or it fails. So let's say you're testing and you notice that there isn't data where there should be. Use a terminator that shuts down the transformation. It will then be sent to that failure output in FME Flow. And from there, you could send yourself a job log or a job ID of the failure, so you can fix these failures right away as they occur. Another thing we have in FME is the ability to retry jobs or retry actions if they do fail. So in this case, we're looking at an email. So as you're sending the email, let's say you have a network blip and something fails. Now you can automatically retry this upon a failure. So if your email does not send, you can automatically retry it. This also applies to jobs as well. So let's say you're trying to write to SharePoint and something happens. Let's say your credentials fail because there's some password change somewhere. Now you can automatically retry your job a few times to make sure that it's not just a blip in the network and it's something that can be overcome easily just by retrying that job. Another great example of this is one day Elizabeth came to me and she said, oh, all of my jobs are failing on FME. Someone had actually removed the connection to Google Sheets as she was recording information from our webinars. I was able to go into FME Flow and just manually resubmit all those jobs, and that information was there. So we actually didn't end up losing any data, even though at that time all those jobs had failed.
Another way of building for failure is utilizing message brokering and queuing systems. It's a great way to help guarantee the delivery of data. Incorporating these tools into your FME built solutions means instead of building a monolithic FME workspace that reads data from potentially many sources, transforms the data in many ways, and writes the data to potentially many sources, you build a series of smaller, simpler FME services with less complexity and failure points. These simple FME services each do one job, like get the data from system A, drop it in a queue, and broadcast the message to a topic or through an automation writer that that data is ready. Then multiple other workspaces can pick up that data and write it into their specific systems.
Yeah. And finally, we're coming to discuss the cost and complexity parts of the platform. FME is really cost effective. Once you've purchased the platform, we've got experience seeing quotes where our ability to deliver an integration on the platform is about a third of the price of another vendor building a bespoke based solution. Additionally, you can centralize those integrations into a single platform, making them easier to track and maintain. It's a low code, no code platform. So developers don't have to be code experts, although we do recommend that people get familiar with how enterprise systems works, because you do have to build for failure. But this does allow you to maximize your employees' expertise. You don't need to be hiring somebody with 15 years worth of software development that knows how to build an AWS and Azure and Google Cloud to achieve the same outcome. The FME advantage, well, there's lots of them, but let's start with the fact that you get it all. There's no premium connectors. You pay one subscription price and you get access to the whole platform, as well as there being sector-specific subscriptions for local government, utilities, airports, tertiary education providers, and many more. And the benefit of this is that you can deploy FME anywhere. You can deploy it to virtual machines or containers in all popular cloud systems, whether that's your own, Microsoft Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, and beyond. Or you can take advantage of the FME Flow hosted platform, which is a platform as a service capability managed by Safe Software for you to deploy your flows to. Where we take FME to the next level is by building ready-to-deploy integrations that take the blank canvas that can be FME and enables it to be deployed immediately for common utility and local government workflows. So we've built connectors in addition to safe softwares to connect to popular asset management, ERP, GIS, and field management solutions in the New Zealand market. And we've automated common workflows like work orders, roster to pay, master data management, fuel management, and a range of others that are really common across local government organizations.
All right, thanks for that, Sam. So we've been talking about FME pretty much this whole time, but for those of you who don't know us, I thought we would briefly introduce who we are. So we've been in the data integration space, solving data challenges for over 30 years. We have a spatial background because we first started with spatial formats, but since then we've expanded to so much more. Now we have over 200,000 users worldwide, so we really cater to diverse industries, and our user base really describes who we are and how we're committed to providing solutions, no matter what industry the user is in. We also have over 140 partners, so we do have worldwide support through our partners like Seamless, based out of New Zealand. And we have a really great FME community. Now, this is where our users share their knowledge and solutions to common data challenges. And if you've ever been on the community, you know it's such a collaborative and welcoming space, especially to our new users.
Yeah. And let's talk about FME as an enterprise integration platform. So it's the only enterprise integration platform with comprehensive support for spatial data. That doesn't mean it's a GIS platform. It means that it's natively going to deal with spatial data along with all the other formats and systems and files that it can connect to. In fact, there's built-in support for thousands of systems, with over 800 coming out of the box, along with activities called transformers that allow users to build and automate custom integration workflows without having to write code. So whether your data challenges is to do with spatial, big data, stream processing, cloud migration, business intelligence, or anything, FME is here to help you spend more time using your data and less time fighting it. And it's seamless, like we said before. We build on that platform, taking a blank canvas and enabling organizations to get going with it immediately, whether they want to build their own expertise in FME or whether they want to work with a partner who can bring that capability for them.
FME Forms serves as a development environment where users can create and execute data transformation models known as workspaces. These workspaces facilitate the manipulation and conversion of data across various formats and systems. FME Form is recognized for its FME Workbench application, which allows users to design these data flows with a graphical interface, simplifying the process of data transformation and integration. FME Flow, on the other hand, extends the capabilities of FME Form by providing a framework for executing these workspaces based on specific events or triggers. This could range from scheduled tasks to real-time data processing in response to incoming emails or data from IoT devices. FME Flow acts as a central hub within the information system, enabling the automation of data workflows and the dynamic response to various external events. Together, FME Flow and FME Form offer a comprehensive solution for organizations looking to streamline their data integration and automation processes, making it easier to manage complex data workflows and enhance overall productivity.
All right, awesome. Before we get to some questions, just a couple of resources and next steps. We have an ebook available, Spatial Data for the Enterprise, with the link there. The FME Academy is a great place to learn guided learning at your fingertips, academy.safe.com. A ton of great resources there, as well as in the knowledge base. And then we do have lots of upcoming webinars, so definitely check those out, safe.com/webinars, and a ton of on-demand content to continue your learnings. If you'd like to get in touch with the Seamless team, we have their email on the screen here. And also if you have specific questions for Sam and Chris as well, we will have their emails pop up in a moment here in a couple slides to come. And also they're very active on LinkedIn, so check out their LinkedIn profile, give them a follow. And lastly here, Experience FME Accelerator. I've personally taken this course and found it very helpful as an introductory to FME. It's just 90 minutes and it is free of charge. All right, if you are a part of our FME community and wish to redeem today's code, fear not, just hang on to that for another week or two here while we are switching to a new FME community platform. And if you aren't a part of the FME community, we encourage you to check it out. It's a great place to network with other users alike and also FME experts. All right, I'll just get our presenters to turn back on our webcams. Thank you here to Sam and Chris for all of their time in preparing this content today. Their emails are on the screen, so if you'd like to reach out to them or you have any questions about the services that they offer and such, please do. We encourage you to reach out directly. Thank you so much both for your time today.
No, thank you guys for inviting us. It's been great working with you both, and we look forward to seeing you next time we're over that part of the world.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's been great.
It's been our absolute pleasure to have them both on air, so that's awesome. All right, I will go ahead and invite Sienna and Sinai on stage who are joining me for Q&A here today. Excellent. All right. Yeah, and another thank you to everyone for bearing with us. So we had those couple minutes of tech glitches in the middle, so thanks for your patience there. And yeah, we can take a look at the questions. It looks like we had a bit of a quiet group this morning. So if anyone does have any questions that come to mind, please do drop those in, and we'll definitely continue to keep an eye on the questions tab there. Yeah. And I'll also go ahead and bring up Sam and Chris's email on the screen again, just in case anyone didn't snag that yet and might want to reach out to them directly. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us here today. We really appreciate your time. Like I said, if you do wish to reach out to Chris and Sam with any questions that might pop up for you later, you're more than welcome to do so. They've encouraged us to leave their emails here for you all. And we'll also hang around just a couple minutes longer in case you want to drop any questions that come to mind in the questions panel. So thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in here today. If you do have a brief moment to fill out our webinar survey, we really appreciate any feedback on the content, and it helps us improve upon the program. So I'll drop that link in the chat now as well. All right. Thanks, everyone, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.
Bye.